In the sweltering heat of July 1944, on the jagged cliffs of Saipan, a cluster of Japanese military nurses crouched in a shallow cave carved from volcanic rock. The air hung heavy with the metallic tang of gunpowder and the distant rumble of artillery fire, like thunder echoing across the Pacific. Salt spray from crashing waves below mingled with the sweat on their skin as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the blood-soaked island. 47 women, trained in the rigid discipline of the Imperial Japanese Army, whispered prayers to ancestors, their white uniforms tattered and stained, hearts pounding with the certainty of impending doom. This moment on Saipan marked a pivotal fracture in the Pacific War. The island, part of the Mariana Chain, stood as a linchpin in Japan's defensive perimeter, its airfields essential for controlling sea lanes and shielding the homeland from Allied bombers. By June 15, 1944, when American forces, comprising the 2nd and 4th Marine Divisions, alongside the Army's 27th Infantry Division, stormed ashore under Operation Forager, the battle unfolded as one of the bloodiest in the theater. Over 29,000 Japanese defenders perished, many in Banzai charges or self-inflicted deaths, driven by orders to fight to the last. Civilian casualties soared to 22,000, with propaganda-fueled mass suicides off Marpi Point, where families leapt into the sea rather than face capture. For the United States, victory came at a cost of 3,426 killed and over 10,000 wounded. But it secured bases from which B-29 superfortresses could strike Tokyo directly, hastening the war's end. Amid this carnage, the nurses, auxiliaries attached to the 31st Army under Lieutenant General Yoshitsugu Saito, had tended to the wounded in makeshift field hospitals, only to flee as American lines closed in. Their surrender would expose the chasm between imperial indoctrination and the reality of the enemy. These women had been steeped in tales of American barbarity, propaganda leaflets and radio broadcasts painting U.S. soldiers as savage beasts devoid of honor. They expected violation, mutilation, and slow death upon capture. Stories of women in Nanking reversed, now projected onto the invaders. Senior nurse Miyoko Tanaka, a 34-year-old veteran of campaigns in China, had heard officers warn that American troops would desecrate their bodies, stripping away dignity in acts of conquest. Younger ones, like 19-year-old Ko Hayashi, trembled at the thought, recalling school drills where they practiced seppuku with wooden blades to preserve purity. Surrender was treason, but starvation and shelling left no choice. As they emerged from the cave, hands raised under the glare of marine spotlights, they braced for the assault that never came. Instead, U.S. officers from the 2nd Marine Division, under strict orders from Admiral Chester Nimitz to uphold the Geneva Conventions, ensured their immediate safety. Escorted to a secured compound, the nurses were met not with chains, but with medical examinations by American doctors. Records from the U.S. Navy's Bureau of Medicine and Surgery detail how these captives were screened for malaria, dysentery, and dehydration, afflictions rampant among Japanese forces due to supply shortages. No instances of abuse were reported. In fact, Marine logs note the deployment of female interpreters and guards to maintain propriety. One officer, Captain Elias Grant, later documented in his after-action report, the enemy medical personnel were treated with the respect due to non-combatants, their quarters separated and guarded to prevent any misconduct. The nurses received hot showers, clean clothing from Red Cross supplies, and meals that stunned them, plates laden with canned beef, mashed potatoes, and fresh milk, rations equaling a week's sustenance back home. This abundance became a recurring emblem. The simple Hershey's chocolate bar passed to each nurse, symbolizing the vast resources of American democracy. In Japan, chocolate was a rare luxury, hoarded for the elite. Here, it was distributed freely, wrappers crinkling in trembling hands as the nurses tasted its sweetness amid the bitterness of defeat. Ko Hayashi, in a post-war memoir excerpted in Japanese historical archives, recalled the moment. It melted on my tongue like a forbidden dream, proof of an enemy who wasted nothing yet shared everything. Factual data underscores this contrast. U.S. logistical prowess delivered over 1.2 million tons of supplies to the Marianas campaign, including 500,000 gallons of milk powder, while Japanese troops subsisted on rice balls and foraged roots, leading to malnutrition rates exceeding 40% by battle's end. As days turned to weeks, 23 of the nurses, including Miyoko, volunteered to assist in American field hospitals overwhelmed by casualties. They worked in sterile tents equipped with penicillin, a drug Japan produced in minuscule quantities, and blood transfusion kits that saved hundreds daily. One documented procedure involved Miyoko aiding Dr. Robert Chen, a Chinese-American surgeon, in extracting shrapnel from a marionette's abdomen, their hands moving in unison under electric lights powered by generators. American records from the 24th Medical Battalion note the integration. Japanese auxiliaries performed admirably, contributing to 150 surgeries in the first week post-capture. Yet internal divisions arose. Those who refused labeled the workers traitors, whispering of lost honor. The Hershey bar reappeared in these tensions, offered by American nurses as gestures of camaraderie, its chocolate evoking not just plenty, but the democratic ideal of equality, treating foes as equals in healing. This experience shattered the nurses' worldview, indoctrinated to see war as a divine struggle, where mercy equated weakness. They witnessed Americans healing Japanese POWs alongside their own, without discrimination. Post-war interrogations by the U.S. Strategic Bombing Survey revealed similar shifts among captives. 68% reported surprise at humane treatment, undermining Bushido's fatalistic code. For Miyoko, the transformation was profound. She later reflected in interviews compiled by the Japanese Red Cross that we expected demons, but found men who valued life over vengeance. Ko, haunted by propaganda films of American atrocities, found her ideology crumbling as she bandaged an enemy soldier, the chocolate bar in her pocket a talisman of newfound abundance. The event altered perceptions on both sides, fostering early seeds of reconciliation that influenced occupation policies under General Douglas MacArthur. In the epilogue of this forgotten chapter, as the nurses were repatriated in early 1946 aboard the USS Comfort, part of a program that returned over 1.5 million Japanese from Pacific Islands, the Hershey bar lingered as a symbol of what war could not destroy. It represented not merely material wealth, but the abundance of freedom, where democracy allowed even the vanquished to taste dignity. In a world scarred by ideology's iron grip, this act of protection illuminated a larger truth. True honor endures not in conquest, but in the quiet preservation of humanity, bridging divides to forge a peace where abundance flows not from empires, but from shared respect. As Japan rose from ashes, embracing democratic reforms that fed its people and healed its wounds, the memory of that chocolate whispered of ideologies remade, freedoms unbound, and the enduring light of mercy in the shadow of war.